Welcome to PC Woods Kids Tech Talk. Today we're looking at the Diamond HD 5770 ATI video card. So previously I reviewed the 5850 from Diamond, and also I reviewed a lower end model from Sapphire, but today we're looking at the 5770, which is halfway in between all of the 5000 series models of video cards. As you can see here, this card is slightly smaller than the 5850, but it does have all the same support. So 1 gig of GDDR5 Infinity for triple monitor setup. You've got the DirectX 11 support, Shader Model 5 support, OpenGL 3.1 support. Runs with only one 6-pin power connector, the PCI Express. 450 watt power supply is good enough. 600 watt power supply if you're going to run it in Crossfire, of course. And here's a look at the card. So the card is pretty slick, standard setup from ATI, as you can see, with the blower fan in the center there on the side, with vents happening all around. Starting from the outputs, you can see here there's 2 DVI outs, just port and an HDMI port, so that's going to enable you to have the triple Infinity setup, and you've got some ventilation happening at the top. There's your Crossfire connectors, so lots of ventilation here, and of course towards the back where that fan is, it's going to intake some air from there. There's the 6-pin PCI Express connector that I was telling you about that you need just one. This is a lower power consumption card compared to all of the other cards, so that's a terrific card if you're looking for getting performance with low power. Here's what's in the box. There's your standard 3 items, your DVI to VGA connector, your bridge for your Crossfire, and the manual and CD. That's it for your drivers. I'm going to be installing it here in this test system, as you can see, running Windows 7 Ultimate 64-bit, 4 gigs of RAM, Phenom 2 X4965 at 4 gigahertz, and we're going to test this and see how we do. Running in Windows 7, GPU-Z here is showing us that it's the GPU of Juniper. That's the Juniper core name. You can see here it's running at 16 times 16x, the 2 PCI Express slot. There's the texture fill rate, the pixel fill rate. You see there the memory, the bus speed, the bandwidth, and of course I'm using the Catalyst 10.2 drivers, the latest ones, and those are the default clocks. 850 for the GPU and 1200 megahertz for the memory, which is times 4 effectively. On idle, you can see here that it's running roughly about 41 degrees Celsius, and that's with it not being on overclocked, running in its own power saving mode there. But if I run it at full load, it'll go all the way up to a maximum of 64 degrees Celsius, and that's including overclocking it. Okay, so the range is from 41 to all the way to 64 if I overclock it. If I don't overclock it, it's less than that, obviously. Now let's do some benchmarks. So 3D Mark Vantage, you can see here the GPU score 9324. Okay, 3D Mark Vantage on high 6105, and on 3D Mark 06, here are the SM2 scores and the remaining of the scores there, and I really wanted to show you where all of this ranks. If I compare it to other video cards and we look at the GPU scores, this is where this card excels. It's really better than a 4870. It's close to a GTX 260, so an NVIDIA card, but remember, this is a DirectX 11 card, so when we run it in games, obviously it's going to run better with DirectX 11, and it supports DirectX 11, unlike all the other 4800 series cards, which do not. So here are some different games that I've been trying this out with, of course, so you can have a good idea on the benchmarks, the frames per second, the minimum, the average, and the maximum throughout all of the levels, and different types of games, a variety of stuff, so you can see. And it's terrific. The card was performing excellent. Maxed out settings, of course, as you can see, way more than enough frames per second to play any of these games. It's just crazy overboard. Don't even need that much, and super smooth, of course, playing all of these games. And it doesn't matter whether you're playing Bioshock 1, Bioshock 2, whether you're playing the first version of Crysis, the latest version of Crysis, or add-ons. It's more or less the same. It doesn't really matter. Overclocking here, you can use the auto-tune feature in the Catalyst drivers. It was a little bit high, I think. It overclocked it too much, so I had to lower it a bit. Okay, for stability issues, because that was just like, wow, if I could overclock it that high, then it would perform better than a 5850 almost. So here it is. This is the stability checkpoint here. 925 megahertz core, 1375 megahertz for the memory, and you can see here the GPU score in 3D Vantage went up. Basically, when you overclock it, I got about roughly 5 frames per second to 20 frames per second, depending on what it is that I played. Here's Far Cry 2, okay, on Far Cry 2 or Clear Sky, Stalker results, it doesn't matter, roughly about 5 to 10 to 20 frames per second, depending on the game. You get more when you overclock. So here's where the card kind of lies in between other cards of comparable price. Okay, so if you're shopping around and you've got about $170 at the time of this video, that's how much roughly the card costs. Terrific overclocking card, low power consumption, and definitely recommend it if you're looking for a card in this price range. So I'd like to thank Diamond for providing it, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.